My brother erased me from our family garage, sold the car I built, and took the credit. My parents defended him, so I left and built myself. When his business crashed, he came begging. But I let the bidders decide who the real builder was. Hey Reddit, my brother stole my work, my name, and called it business. So I walked away, built my own shop from scratch, and didn't look back. But of course, he couldn't let it go. Before I tell you how that went down, let me start from the beginning. Name's Eli Dawes, 29, mechanic by trade, born and raised in a small town where people talk more than they work. I fix cars for a living, mostly because I've been doing it since before I could drive. My family's been running the same dusty garage since the 80s, Dawes Auto Repair. My old man Mark still calls it his kingdom. My mom Clara runs the books and pretends the business isn't falling apart. And my brother Ryan? He's the golden boy who's barely picked up a wrench in his life, but somehow everyone thinks he's a genius. I grew up in that garage. Smells like rubber, old oil, and sweat. Pretty much home to me. The floor's got stains older than me, and the same coffee can full of bolts has been sitting on the workbench since I was 12. My first job was holding the flashlight while Dad and Ryan worked on engines, which really meant I worked while Ryan told stories. Dad would say, "Ryan's got the gift, Eli. He's a leader." What he meant was Ryan could talk people into anything, including letting me do his work. By 15, I was rebuilding carburetors solo. By 16, I rebuilt a full small block Ford from the ground up. Took me weeks of late nights. No help, just manuals and stubbornness. The day it finally turned over clean, Ryan just happened to walk by. He climbed in, turned the key, and the thing fired right up. Dad came running, eyes wide, clapped Ryan on the back, said, "That's my boy!" I just stood there, grease up to my elbows, holding a wrench I'd used to make it happen. That's the day I learned what the hands meant in our family. Ryan was the face. I was the labor. Fast forward about a decade. I'm running the day-to-day in the shop, while Dad yells at customers for not knowing real cars anymore. Business is slow, and Ryan's been gone for years, chasing startups that start and die faster than you can say bankruptcy. He calls once in a while, usually when he needs money or a place to crash. Then one Friday night, he rolled into town in a borrowed truck, acting like he just returned from saving the world. Says he's got a real plan this time. Mom's making coffee like he's the president. Dad's smiling for the first time in months. I just keep wiping down tools, waiting for the pitch. He said we should start a new brand, Dawes Brothers Customs. A family legacy, he calls it. He's got this whole vision of turning the old shop into a custom-built garage. Says he's got connections and marketing skills. All he needs is my hands to do the work, and Dad's small savings to fund the start. I laughed at first. Ryan's ideas usually end with him broke and me fixing the damage. But Dad's cough had gotten worse that year, and I caught him staring at the old family photo on the office wall, the one where we're all smiling, holding wrenches like idiots. For once, he looked tired instead of angry. That did it. I figured maybe we could give him one thing to be proud of before he goes. So I told Ryan fine, but we do it right. No shortcuts, no stupid promises. We build something worth showing off. We found a 1969 Mustang Fastback. Bare shell, no interior, frame half rust. Perfect project if you've got time and patience. I've got both. Ryan doesn't. The deal was simple. I build, he handles the money and sponsors. Week 1, he's there every day, talking about color schemes and logos. By week 2, he's already taking phone calls in the parking lot. By week 3, he's talking about brand exposure. I keep my head down. Tear down the chassis, weld new mounts, strip the body, sand for days. There's something clean about work that doesn't lie. Steel doesn't fake things. Either it holds or it breaks. Ryan keeps showing up with new ideas. LED lights under the hood, touchscreen dashboards, nonsense that makes me want to weld his mouth shut. Dad eats it up though. Says, "That's thinking big, Ryan." Meanwhile, I'm under the car 12 hours a day, making sure the damn thing actually runs. When it finally starts up, perfect idle, clean rev, I can't help but smile a bit. Ryan grabs his phone, records it, yells, "We did it!" like he turned a single bolt. Dad came running again, slapping Ryan on the back. I'm just standing there, greasy rag in hand, same as always. Ryan's already uploading the video online, captioning it, "Dream coming true. Dawes Brothers Customs. Baby." And I knew right there it wasn't our dream anymore. It was his show. Still, I didn't walk away. Not yet. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself I could make something great even if nobody gave me credit for it. Or maybe I still wanted Dad to see his two sons build something together before he checked out. Either way, I stayed. By the end of that week, Ryan was talking about sponsors and merch lines. I was cleaning up weld dust and double-checking torque specs. We started posting progress online. When the engine video hit online, it blew up more than I expected. Not viral or anything crazy, but enough that people around town started saying stuff like, "Hey, saw your car online, man." And by your, they meant Ryan's. He was in every clip, talking about our build, explaining things I knew damn well he didn't understand. I figured whatever. Let him have his 5 minutes. He started filming everything. Every weld spark, every bolt turn, every time I wiped grease off my face. But he was never behind the camera for long. He always managed to angle it so he was in the frame, even if I was the one doing the work. His captions were things like, "We're bringing American craftsmanship back," or "Big things coming soon." I was background noise in his movie. A few weeks later, Ryan showed up wearing a clean polo like he's a salesman now. Says he and Miles Carter, some slick talker he met through a friend, lined up a meeting with a small auto parts company that wants to partner. I asked when the meeting is. He says, "Already happened." "So, you met them without me?" I asked. He shrugged. "Yeah, it was just a quick intro. You wouldn't have liked it anyway. Lots of talking." "Right," I said. "Talking's your department." 2 days later, he walked in holding a big blue banner that says Ryan Dawes Customs. I stop what I'm doing, look at it, then at him. "What the hell is that?" He grinned. "Branding, man. You gotta have a clean name for sponsors. Dawes Brothers Customs sounds old. This is sharper." I stared at it for a second. "So where's my name?" He waved it off. "It's just marketing. You're overthinking it. It's all of us, obviously." "Right," I said, wiping my hands. "Obviously." He hanged the banner up like he just signed a record deal. That was the real sign, but I was a fool. Later that week, a delivery truck pulls up with boxes of parts. Filters, hoses, fittings, the whole kit. Ryan's walking around with his phone, filming himself unboxing everything like he's some influencer. He tags the company and talks about how they believe in my vision, not my. That night, I go through the boxes, checking everything. There's a folder and one labeled Sponsorship Agreement. I open it. There's only one name listed, Ryan Dawes. When I asked him about it the next morning, he laughed like it's nothing. "It's just simpler this way, man. You hate paperwork anyway. Don't worry. We're good." "Yeah," I said. "Nothing says teamwork like invisible ink." He smirked. "You'll thank me later when this blows up." Dad walked in mid-conversation, claps Ryan on the shoulder, and says, "Now that's how you do business, son. You think like a boss." Then he looked at me and says, "You could learn a thing or two from him." I could have said plenty, but I didn't. Just nodded and kept working. No point. Mom hears about the sponsorship at dinner that night. She smiles and says, "You should be more supportive, Eli. Your brother's finally making something of himself." I told her I'm proud of him. I don't sound like I mean it, but she doesn't notice. Next morning, Ryan showed up late again. Camera in one hand, coffee in the other. I'm under the car tightening suspension bolts. Then he starts touching things he shouldn't. Leans on the fender, knocks a wrench off the lift. "Maybe film from over there," I say. "Relax, it's content." "Yeah, and I'm trying to keep this from being a fire hazard." "Pick one." He rolled his eyes, keeps talking. I let it go, but that night, after everyone leaves, I started logging everything. Part numbers, hours worked, designs, dates. I don't know why exactly, just a gut feeling. A week later, I checked the YouTube page we set up. It's now called Ryan Dawes Customs. No mention of me anywhere. I scrolled through comments. People are calling him the next big builder. A few even asked who the guy in the background is. No replies. I sit there for a while, reading it over and over, then shut the laptop and get back to work. Ryan starts small, gets attention, forgets who helped him, and somehow turns himself into the hero. Dad kept bragging to everyone at the diner that week, "My boy's got sponsors now. Gonna be big." He never said sons, always boy. Singular. Meanwhile, I'm doing real work. Installing the new coilover suspension, aligning the chassis, rewiring the harness that Ryan kept unplugging for photos. I'm making sure this thing won't fall apart when it moves. Sometimes Ryan would come in late, say, "Hey, you mind holding off on painting until I get a camera guy here?" "Yeah, sure," I'd say. "Wouldn't want to interrupt your content." He'd laugh, not catching the sarcasm. By the time we were prepping for primer, I'd learned to stop explaining myself. Let him talk, let him post. Still, I started keeping extra copies of everything. Build notes, receipts, sketches with my initials and dates. Not because I wanted to sue him or anything, just because I wanted proof I existed in this story. That night, I looked up at the banner hanging crooked over the lift, Ryan Dawes Customs, and thought, yeah, guess I'm just the unpaid intern again. But I wasn't planning to stay that way. That needed to change. By the time the car was done, it didn't even look like the same Mustang we dragged in months earlier. The paint was deep gunmetal gray, smooth enough to see your reflection. The wiring was perfect, tucked and labeled, no shortcuts. Engine ran clean, no misfires, no smoke. Every detail was right. For once, I felt proud, like maybe this would actually mean something. Ryan showed up that morning wearing a button-up and sunglasses like he was about to host a TV show. He barely looked at the car, just circled it, nodding. Sponsor wants us to take it to the local auto show this weekend, he said. Big exposure. Us? I asked. Yeah, you know, the team, he said, grinning. They're sending banners and promo stuff. It's gonna be huge. I had a couple of client cars I needed to finish that day, so I told him I'd meet him there later. He said fine and left, phone already in his hand. When I pulled into the car show that afternoon, the lot was packed. Rows of polished classics, people walking around with cameras, kids pointing at engines. The Mustang was easy to spot. It was up front, surrounded by a small crowd. But when I got closer, my stomach dropped. Every sign, every banner, every handout said Ryan Dawes Customs. There was a big poster of him leaning on the car, arms crossed, looking proud. My name wasn't anywhere. Not a sticker, not a footnote. Ryan was standing near the stage with a mic, smiling like he just discovered fire. Dad and Mom were in the front row, clapping like their son had won the lottery. I walked up and stopped beside them. Dad looked at me, grinning. That's my boy right there, he said, pointing. Yeah, I said. Your boy. Ryan started his little speech. He talked about his design and his dedication to craftsmanship. He thanked the sponsor, thanked the fans, thanked his team, never said my name once. When he stepped down, cameras flashing, I waited behind the tent near the lot. He finally walked back there, phone in one hand, trophy in the other. Nice speech, I said. He looked surprised to see me. Oh hey, you made it. What did you think? I think you should fix the banners before the next one, I said. You forgot half the team's name. He sighed like I was being difficult. Eli, come on. You know how marketing works? You're the hands, I'm the face. It's just how it goes. The hands built the car, I said. The face just took a selfie with it. He smiled. That same fake calm smile he used whenever he knew he was screwing me. Don't make this weird. We're both winning here. I didn't answer, just walked away. 2 days later, I got to the shop early to clean up some parts. The car was gone. I figured Ryan took it out for photos or some press thing. By noon, I realized it wasn't coming back. I called him. No answer. Texted him. Nothing. Late that night, I finally got a reply. Sold it. Great deal. Don't worry. It's good for the brand. I stared at the message for a long time before heading to the house. He was in the kitchen with Dad when I walked in. Dad looked up from the paper and said, Heard you're upset about the sale. Don't be dramatic. Where's the money? I asked. Ryan leaned back against the counter. Handled. I used it to invest in the business. Bigger things coming. The business? I said. You mean the one with my work and your name? Dad cut in. Watch your tone, Eli. At least your brother knows how to win. Maybe take notes. I looked at him, then at Ryan, both smiling like they were proud of themselves. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything, just said, You two deserve each other, and walked out. The next morning, I went to the garage to grab my tools. The door lock had been changed. I called Ryan. No answer again. When I finally saw him later that day, he said, Can't let you just walk out with company property. We've got inventory now. Company property? I repeated. You mean my tools? He shrugged. You left them here. That's on you. I stood there for a second, looking at the new locks, the crooked Ryan Dawes Customs banner, the car posters with my work all over them. The place didn't even smell like home anymore. I went around back to the shed and found one old thing left behind. My dented metal toolbox from when I was a kid. My name still scratched on the top, half faded. Inside were a few wrenches and a socket set I'd bought with my first paycheck. I picked it up, heavy and cold, and walked straight out the back door. Didn't look back. No yelling, no scene, just me and the sound of gravel under my boots. That's all I took from that garage. The rest of it could burn for all I cared. 2 days after the sale, I packed what little I had into my truck. Toolbox, clothes, a few photos I couldn't throw away, and drove 2 towns over. The only room I could afford was above a body shop that smelled like paint and burnt metal. The roof leaked, the window rattled, but it had a bed and a coffee pot. That was enough. I walked into every shop in a 30-mile radius looking for work. Most turned me down on sight. A few said they'd call later. One old guy laughed and said, "Aren't you the brother who quit on your family's shop? Word travels fast in small towns." I didn't bother explaining. Weeks later, a place called Brooks Auto Salvage gave me a chance. The owner, Carl, didn't care about gossip. He said, "You fix it right, I'll pay you." And that was the whole interview. He put me on junk jobs no one wanted. Bent frames, rusted floors, flooded engines. Work that wrecks your hands but keeps your mind steady. I showed up early, stayed late, and slept upstairs above the noise. Days turned into weeks, grease into routine. One night, Carl stopped by after everyone left. He watched me finish a suspension job and said, "You could run your own place." "I'm too old to start over, but you should." I told him I couldn't afford it. He just laughed. "You'll never afford it if you wait until you can." That stuck. 2 months later, I'd saved enough to rent a small industrial unit on the edge of town. Bare concrete, one lift, one window. I scrubbed the place down, painted the walls, and hung a metal sign over the door. Iron Line Garage. No fancy logo, just black letters. The first few weeks were quiet. I did small jobs, oil leaks, brake jobs, some kid's Subaru that was more duct tape than car. It barely paid bills, but it was mine. No one breathing down my neck. No brother posing for cameras. Just work. Then this kid started hanging around. Alex Vega, maybe 20. Skinny, nervous, grease stains on his hoodie like metals. He'd stop by after hours, watching from the doorway. One day he asked, "You need someone to sweep?" I said no. Next day, he came back. Same question. Still no. Third day, he brought a broom and started sweeping without waiting. I laughed. "Guess you don't take hints." He said, "Guess you needed a floor guy." Hard to argue with that. I told him fine, but if he broke something, he was buying it. Turned out he was good. Quiet, sharp, didn't fake knowledge, asked questions, listened to the answers. Reminded me of myself before the anger set in. One night he dropped a wrench and it hit the edge of a fender I'd just painted. Left a clean dent. He froze, wide-eyed. "I'm so sorry." I looked at it, sighed. "Now you'll never do that again." He blinked. No yelling, no lecture, just that. And from that day, he was solid. On time, focused, never complained. A few weeks later, I pulled the tarp off an old 70 Charger shell I'd kept for years, but never touched. I told him, "We're bringing this one back." His eyes lit up. "You serious?" "Yeah. Time to build something that's actually mine." We started slow, pulling the drivetrain, grinding, patching rust. Every bolt fought us. Every panel argued back. It was honest work. We'd go late, grabbing burgers after midnight, eating on overturned buckets. No talk, just the hum of compressors and the click of wrenches. I liked the quiet. He did too. Sometimes Alex asked about my old garage. I'd say, family thing. Didn't end well. He never pushed. Bit by bit, the Charger took shape. Straightened frame, new panels, rebuilt 440 engine I'd been saving. Nothing flashy, just clean. Every wire tucked, every line right. When we finished, it looked and sounded alive. Word spread. People liked that I didn't upsell or show off. Just fix things right. Regulars came back, sent friends. I hung a small sign inside. "If you're here for show, go somewhere else. If you're here for work, welcome." One night, we tightened the last bolts on the Charger suspension. I tossed Alex the keys. "Fire it up." He hesitated. "You sure?" "Yeah. Let's see if she wants to live." He turned the key. The engine coughed once, then settled into a smooth, even rumble. His grin said everything. "Not bad," I said. "Now shut it off before you flood it." He laughed, wiping his hands. "Man, this thing's gonna be a monster." I looked around the garage. Bare walls, scattered tools, smell of oil and victory. For the first time in years, I wasn't standing in someone else's shadow. I wasn't Ryan's little brother. I was my own man, building something real. And that was enough. About a year after the show, it was a Tuesday morning, quiet like most. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee, checking over a customer's suspension work, when I heard someone knock on the office door. Not the usual knock. This one was slow and polite. I looked up, and there stood a guy in his 50s, dressed clean, wearing a watch that probably cost more than my lift. "You Eli?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "What are you driving?" He smiled. "A '69 Mustang. Custom job. Bought it about a year ago off a guy named Ryan Dawes." I froze. "You said Dawes?" "Yeah," he said, nodding like the name meant something to me. Car looked great back then, but it's been running rough. Paint's cracking, wiring's a mess, suspension's shot. I heard you're the only one around who can fix something like this. He stepped aside and waved toward a trailer parked outside. My stomach dropped when I saw it. The car. My car. It looked tired. The paint that used to shine was faded and chipped. The front bumper misaligned. The hood latch half broken. The engine sounded sick even when he rolled it off the trailer. Rough idle, coughing, starving for air. I walked around it slow, tracing the same body lines I'd spent months shaping years ago. Same details, same weld spots, every inch still familiar. Except now it felt like looking at a ghost. The guy, his name was Mr. Laird, said, "You think you can bring her back?" "Yeah," I said, "but only if you promise one thing." He raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "If anyone asks who rebuilt it this time, you tell the truth. You don't say it's a Dawes car. You say Iron Line." He nodded right away. "Fair deal. I just want it done right." That was enough for me. Alex helped me roll it onto the lift. He could tell something was off just from my face. "What's the story on this one?" he asked. "It's complicated," I said. "Let's just say it used to belong to the wrong guy." We started stripping it down piece by piece. Every panel I pulled off, every bolt I loosened, felt like unwrapping a bad memory. Ryan's shortcuts were everywhere. Cheap wiring taped together, overspray under the hood, bad welds hidden with filler. It was embarrassing. I found his little signature plate under the hood, crooked and scratched, glued in place instead of riveted. Typical. Alex saw me staring at it. "You want me to pull it off?" he asked. "No," I said. "Leave it. Some names stay so you remember what not to trust." He nodded. Didn't ask again. It took us 3 weeks to tear it down, fix the structure, and rebuild it the right way. New wiring harness, proper welds, new suspension, balanced tuning. By the end, it looked and sounded like it should have from day one. Clean. Honest. When Mr. Laird came to pick it up, he stood there quiet for a minute, just staring. Then he smiled. "This feels like a different car." "It's the same one," I said. "Just finally got built right." He paid fair, didn't haggle, didn't talk down, just shook my hand and said, "I'll make sure people know who fixed her." He kept that promise. Word started spreading. People talked about Iron Line as the shop that makes things actually work. I started getting calls from all over the county. Projects, rebuilds, restorations. Real work, no drama. One day, Alex showed me something on his phone. "You seen this?" he said. It was a forum thread. Title read, "Avoid Dawes Customs. They'll butcher your ride." I scrolled through. Complaints from customers who'd gone to Ryan's shop. Bad paint, missed deadlines, fake parts, broken promises. His reputation was falling apart. I didn't feel happy about it. Didn't even feel angry. Just tired. That was always where his kind of success ended. Flash, lies, and cleanup for someone else to handle. A few nights later, we closed up the shop late. Alex was locking up while I wiped down the workbench. He looked at me and said, "So that car today? That was yours, wasn't it?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "Yeah, a long time ago." "You regret selling it?" he asked. "I didn't sell it," I said. "Someone else did." He waited for me to say more, but I didn't. Some stories don't need repeating. When he left, I stood there for a minute, looking at the Iron Line sign glowing in the dark through the window. The same hands that built that stolen car had just rebuilt it better. And now they built this place too. I thought about Ryan then, wondering if he even realized what he'd thrown away. But I didn't care enough to find out. Instead, I turned off the lights, locked the door, and headed home. The next morning, there was a new customer waiting outside before we opened. Word really was spreading, and for the first time in years, the ghosts felt lighter. A few months after Laird's rebuild, the Charger sat in the shop looking mean and ready. When a national auction invited us to feature builds, I didn't care about the lights. I just wanted one honest test under real eyes. The hall was huge, polished, and loud with money. Rows of cars glittered under spotlights. Alex rolled the Charger off the trailer, grinning like a kid. I told him to check the lug nuts and quit smiling. I was wiping the hood when I heard it. Ryan. Same fake grin, shiny jacket, and cologne that smelled like lies. He worked the floor like a salesman, shaking hands, name-dropping me. Yeah, my brother helped on the chassis, but it was mostly my design. Half truth, full spin. When they called my build on stage, Ryan jumped in front of the cameras. He talked about family legacy, collaboration, all the words he used when he wanted to own something he didn't touch. Then the mic came to me. "Quick note," I said, smiling at the crowd. "This car's from Iron Line Garage, built by me and my crew." Ryan showed up for the cameras. The laughter hit him harder than a punch. His smile cracked, and the host's face froze awkward. Then I saw movement in the crowd. Mr. Laird. He stepped up, voice clear over the noise. That's the guy who sold me my Mustang. Told me it was a Dawes build. Thing barely ran until this man fixed it. Every head turned to Ryan. He forced a laugh. That was just a business deal. Laird shook his head. No, that was a scam. Phones came out. Someone whispered, "Can you trust that shop?" The host tried to move on, but the air changed. Then came the knockout. A staffer tried to start Ryan's Camaro for demo. It coughed twice, backfired, and died. Another try, just clicks. Someone near the stage said, "Cheap parts, bad tune." The lines spread fast. A bidder tossed his number card down. "If it can't run here, I'm out." Others followed. Ryan's face drained. He looked to Miles, his paperman, but Miles was already fading into the crowd. I didn't say a word, just stood by the charger and let the room watch one truth next to one lie. The announcer turned to us. The charger fired instantly, deep and clean. Cameras swung my way. The sound filled the hall, steady, alive. The difference spoke for itself. Bids jumped quick. 20, 30, 40 grand leaps. When the gavel dropped, the crowd clapped. The number on the screen was triple what anyone predicted. I shook the buyer's hand, kept my voice calm. Appreciate it. Ryan stayed behind the rope, staring at the floor. I passed him on the way out and said quietly, "Guess paperwork's still your strong suit." He didn't answer. Couldn't. The shine on that jacket looked dull under the lights. A few people filmed him walking off. Some laughed. Outside, a reporter jogged up asking for a quote. I said, "The work speaks for itself," and kept moving. In the truck, Alex looked back at the trailer and said, "You don't even look happy." "Not about happy," I said. "It's about clean." He nodded, still buzzing. Still felt good watching that thing die. "Yeah," I said. That part didn't suck. We drove through the dark in silence. The charger quiet behind us. The glow of the auction hall faded in the mirror until it was just another building. By the time we reached Iron Line, it was after midnight. The shop sign buzzed faintly. I parked, climbed out, and looked once more at the road behind. Somewhere out there, Ryan was trying to figure out which version of the story to tell next. Didn't matter. In this line of work, reputation is cash, and he'd just overdrafted. Inside, Alex tossed his jacket on a stool and grinned. "Tomorrow we start the next one, right?" "Yep," I said, flipping the lights off. "Same rule as always. Build it right." That was it. No victory dance, no speech. Just quiet tools, clean work, and a name finally standing on its own. A week after the auction, Iron Line felt steady. Phones ringing, bays full, the kind of rhythm you earn, not borrow. Clips of that line I dropped. Ryan just showed up for the cameras, kept popping up online. People tagged me, sent DMS. I ignored it. Work first. Alex handled walk-ins. I kept my head under hoods. That's where life makes sense. Late one evening, after we closed, Alex locked up and headed out. I stayed to finish a brake job. Radio low, tools in their places, sign humming in the window, headlights washed across the glass. I figured a drop-off, wiped my hands on a rag, pushed the door open. Ryan stood by the curb like a mannequin left in the rain. Jacket wrinkled, eyes wired and tired at the same time. He smiled, the kind that never reaches the eyes. "You made me look bad out there," he said, stepping inside without asking. "Didn't have to do it like that." "I didn't do anything but tell the truth," I said, leaning on the doorframe. He walked a slow circle, touching my tool chest like he was appraising it. "You got some nerve, Eli." Press spun it, made me a villain. Mom won't sleep. Dad says the family looks split. You good with that? You good with making your parents miserable? I didn't move. I didn't make anything. I just stopped pretending. He laughed once, sharp. "You think you're here without me?" "I started Dawes Customs. I built the name. You wrote it. We could fix this right now if you'd stop being stubborn. Dawes Brothers for real this time. Cameras, sponsors, space twice as big. You wrench, I make the deals. It's balance. That's what we're missing." He drifted deeper into the shop like he owned oxygen, ran a fingertip across the charger's fender, and nodded at the shine. "This could be our flagship, man. We rebrand, we go big. Family again." I let him talk. He always hung himself on his own rope. When he finally ran out of words, I pushed off the door and stepped in front of him. "You had family," I said. "You sold it. You had a name. You sold that too. Everything in here?" I tapped the concrete with my boot. "I built it after you locked me out. After you put your name on my work. You don't get to rebrand my life." He tilted his head, switched tones like a light. Softer, wounded. "I was trying to help Dad. You don't get the pressure. He needed a win. The sale, the show, people were watching me. I had to deliver. No, I said. You liked the attention. You liked the feeling of being needed without ever doing the needing. Pressure isn't everyone carrying you. Pressure is carrying something and not dropping it. His face tightened. You think you're better than me. I think I stopped letting you speak for me. That landed. He flushed. You're selfish. Jealous. You've always hated that I walk into rooms and people listen. I hate when people get hurt because they listened. He took another pass at the guilt. Dad wanted us together. You know that. Mom's been crying all week. She wants her boys back. Mom wants quiet, I said. Dad wanted an easy story to tell at diners. Neither of them wanted the work it takes to be honest about who does what. He stepped closer, chin up. So that's it? You slam me in front of the whole industry and then what? Play the monk? You can't win alone, Eli. Already did. Silence hung for a long beat. The radio clicked to a new song. A car passed outside, headlights flicking across the wall. He tried one more angle. Look, you know I can talk to sponsors. I can get parts, space, real backing. We can expand. You don't even have to see me day to day. Just say yes, and we start tomorrow. No. He blinked. That's it? No. That's the whole sentence. He looked around like the answer might be written somewhere. When he didn't find it, he got loud. You think you're some kind of hero because you turned a wrench cleaner than me? You humiliated me. You tanked my shop. I didn't build your reputation, I said. I didn't break it. That was all you. He shook his head, stepped backward toward the door, then forward again like he might try a different script. Nothing came. For the first time in a long time, he was out of lines. I walked to the door, pulled it open, let the cool air spill in. You came for a partner, I said. You're leaving with a mirror. Think about what you see before you talk about loyalty. He stood there, jaw tight, hands and fists he wasn't going to use. The old Ryan would have tried to hug it out for the cameras. The new one didn't have a camera. He exhaled through his nose, muttered, "Fine," like a tantrum in a smaller voice, and stepped into the night. Door shut. Taillights disappeared. Echo of his engine faded down the block. I stood for a second, hand still on the lock, and felt nothing dramatic. Just a room getting lighter. Next morning, I was in early, coffee on the workbench, list in my head. Alex rolled up 15 minutes before open, glanced at my face, and raised an eyebrow. You all good? Yeah, I said. Took out the last bag of trash. He snorted. Cool. We got 2 calls already. By 10, the bays were full. A regular came in for a belt. A kid needed a quick alignment. A woman asked about rebuilding her late dad's old truck so she could drive him to a reunion. I told her bring it in. We'd figure it out. During lunch, I looked at the doorway he'd walked through. Quiet. I liked it that way. That evening, after we closed, I drove the Charger out to the old family garage. Roof still sagging. Windows clouded. Sign cracked. I parked on the curb and let the engine idle low. The sound steady like a metronome. Somewhere behind the grime, an old photo still hung on a wall. 2 kids with wrenches, smiling like the world was simple. We weren't those kids anymore. You had your shot, I said. Not loud. Not for anyone but me. I took mine. I turned back toward town. Iron Line's sign glowed when I pulled in. I flipped it to open tomorrow 8 a.m., locked the door, and set tomorrow's parts out by bay numbers. Everything in its place. Work ready. Family built the mess. I built what came after. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.